Were any of you undergraduates here at MIT? Fine, awesome. So the reason I ask is I'm essentially the graduate student equivalent for Student Support Services, S Cubed, who supports undergraduate students. Myself and Dean Staten are the equivalent for the graduate students. So it just kind of helps for frame of reference for that. And by show of hands, how many of you are new? You're all new hall counselors this year? Awesome. Okay. Just in my audience. And how many of you have seen Sam Berry present before? Okay, awesome. So Zan is an amazing resource to have, and she is our kind of stress, or I guess I should say de-stress guru on campus. She works in community wellness at MIT Medical. You can bring her in to your floors and halls at different points if you'd like, and she can do different things around not only sleep, which Dr. Sai talked about, but she can also talk about de-stressing, handling stress, managing stress, and overall wellness as well. And so she's an amazing resource in that sense, and someone who can bring in at any varying points. And I guess to give you a little bit more information, so let's start here about my office, and then we'll move into how the other pieces. So the Office of the Dean for Graduate Education offers a number of different resources to students. In some ways, I think we're the best kept secret on campus. I'd like to stop being a secret. And so we can work with graduate students in a variety of ways, and the brochure that went around is just a quick guide about the many things we offer. So part of it is the graduate personal support. Excuse me, sometimes it's funding. We have a fellowships manager who handles a number of different fellowships and can help advise students about the process of applying for a fellowship, receiving fellowships and grants, and then also occasionally has fellowship and grant opportunities, and actually sends out a list on our regular visas. We also include the International Students Office, which, while it falls under our office, serves all students, undergraduate and graduate alike, that are international, and also international students that will be transitioning out of MIT in terms of graduation, etc. The ISO also works with them, so they work with a really large population. But they also help a lot around kind of acculturation, questions about culture, etc., which is something that we all may will most likely run into with kind of culture clashes that occur on your floor. Also, we work with underrepresented groups on campus and trying to increase the pipeline. So we have a number of different programs that look at pulling undergraduate students into the pipeline to graduate school, and we're always looking for graduate students who can assist with those endeavors in addition to supporting the current graduate students that are here from underrepresented groups. So there's a number of things that our office does to support and kind of program for graduate students on campus. Another two opportunities that you may want to consider. We have Graduate Community Fellows, which is a program that provides a stipend to students as you do work in various different offices on campus. So if you're interested, for example, Libby Mahaffey, who's coming later, in conflict management, she has a Graduate Community Fellow. I have one that helps me out with programming and connecting students to resources on campus. So there's a number of different opportunities. There's some that are open in case you know in all that spare time you all have that you're looking to do a little bit more and get paid for it, so to speak. So that's one opportunity. The other opportunity is we also have what we call the Graduate Community Grants. And it varies, the name's pretty consistent, but so the graduate grants that we offer each year, anyone can apply to, faculty, staff, or graduate students, with programming ideas in order to help build community among graduate students. So the reason why I mention this is that if you've ever had this little brainchild of doing something, you're like, this would be amazing, you just don't have the money for it, or the hall counselor budget or the hall budget isn't enough, you can always apply and receive something, and that's actually coming up soon. So you can be on the lookout for it, but even if you have an idea for your lab, department or center that you work with, you can do that. So there's a number of things that kind of our office will offer. To let you know a little bit about the graduate personal support side and how we might be supportive to you. So before assuming my role in the dean's office, I worked in residential life, working with all of the graduate communities on campus, including SIPAC. And so not only have I worked in residential life for a number of years I also have worked specifically with many other residences, and so have a general understanding of what you might be going through as you work to kind of support your hall, as you work to get to know the other people that are on your hall, the ones that are resistant to knowing you, no matter how many times you knock with cookies. All of those different people, and also the balance piece of it, which is kind of what I'm here to talk about too. So, before I kind of get going to the next portion, any questions about the office or my role? Cool. So I'm just gonna just grab a sheet of paper. I'm kind of excited that none of you have seen Sam present anymore. I've seen Sam present before because that way I can do an activity that is new to you, hopefully. I can steal your show. So what I'd like you to do is you can fold the piece of paper in half if you like. Whatever you want to do is just make 2 columns on the piece of paper. As much as I love origami and I'd like to lead you through making a crate, I don't know how, so that won't be happening, unfortunately. But we just create 2 columns, and what I'm going to want you to do is on the left side of the sheet, I would like you to write down current things that are currently adding stress to your life or demanding time from you, demanding energy. So it could be thoughts about your family back home, it could be your advisor is breathing down your neck for a report. It could be that you're not sure about funding 2 years from now, whatever it is that you're currently concerned about, and what may be a stress in your life. Put that in the left side of the column. So just take a second. Oh, sorry.
I'm sure it's not.
Oh, that sounds good. I'll take your call. I want to write out my stressors.
Be careful. Another pen. Just one more.
You just toss it.
I can.
Yeah. Someone else needs some strict updates. You want to also?
There's another pen over here. Does someone else need one?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh. So now one of your stressors could be a being unprepared.
Got it. That's being unprepared. Being called out by Jason.
It's always great when I'm stressed. It means I'm doing it. Not really. So just take some time and write out some stressors. It can be an exhaustive list, it may not be though either. That's okay. But just things that are currently stressing for you. Congratulations. Which means that you wouldn't even be able to function. This was yesterday. Like, I don't know. This is a question about research, I don't know. Okay. You can keep going. But what I would like you to do is in the other column, I would like you to write down ways that you cope with stress, or things you do to relax, or things you do to think about something else as a distraction. Things that you do for yourself in order to kind of release some stress that you may have, or in order to handle some of the things that may be in that left column. Just write those down. And so you just sat there and like people who didn't know she was an snoozer, like she'd sneeze and be like, bless you, she'd be like, just keep going. And so you're just like, and you wait, and then you're like, bless you. It's just like, thanks. But it's like, you're almost trying to, you're like, can we need to keep going. We should just stop. So, who would like to share something, it doesn't need to be the whole list, but something that you do to kind of de-stress or relax, or to cope with the stressors in your life? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I just try to talk to as many people as possible.
Okay.
Dad knows this.
I don't count as many.
Some other people here know this too. But no, I just, if there's something that's bothering me, I just think like people, or like my, just bring me back down. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, that was a silly, like, successful, but.
So then you were a chatterbox all day.
Oh, extrovert. Yeah, never seen me.
Cool. And that other folks.
It doesn't really solve the problem, it just basically works it. So this technique is basically stops you from thinking. And that, so you should basically focus on the circulation of the air in your wall. And you should repeat it as many times as you can. Count it, and whenever you start thinking, you should count from the beginning. So it's like, it's like a game. You want to have register. It's like a miracle. I wasn't able to sleep for 2 hours, and then after when I was sleep 15 minutes, 30 minutes, because for me it was like a miracle.
Cool. I feel
I
like I
wanted
would.
to share this.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. I feel like I would be at one a lot as I'm counting. Like one. And not that fast, obviously, you're not going to breathe that fast. How many folks meditate or do yoga? Wow.
Most.
Okay.
Yeah, they got too stressed about missing me.
I'm going actively trying to miss go to yoga. It's a matter of time. It's there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yoga has mindful breathing, and that's a lot of the practice, especially at the end of a yoga session. You'll often go through a mindful breathing exercise. The mindfulness concept is something that is really new, I think. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's new to some, not new to others. The concept, etc., has been around for centuries. There are also studies that link to meditation in particular, in terms of longevity, stress reduction, longevity in terms of lifespan, etc. And so there's a lot that is connected to it, and they're learning more and more about it. But it's something that has been scientifically proven to actually assist in kind of problem solving as well as over and so it's something to consider. Meditation is not easy. When you first start it, you've never done it before. But there's a number of different ways that you can go about meditating, and for different people it will be different. So mindful breathing is sometimes a way that people will get into a meditative state. Other people will focus on an object in the room or in a sense, so they can just focus and gradually kind of focus on that so that everything else kind of dissipates around it. So there's different ways, and there's also guided imagery, which will sometimes have people go into, help people go into a meditative state as well. So, Zan has, on the community wellness website, there are a number of different resources for kind of sleep, etc., and relaxation. So they have a list of various MP3s that do guided imagery, if that's something that you're interested in, as well as progressive muscle relaxation. Many of you have done that before. And so there's a number of different options that you can just go to the website and download, so you can play them at any point. You can also dial 253-CALM. So 617-253-CALM, CALM. And by calling that, you can also select from a menu of options if you wanted to do guided imagery or other pieces as well. So, and some people find it really handy because you can call it anytime. You will hear Sam's voice, which I find soothing, but other people don't. So you can always find other MP3s and whatnot available as well, but Sam always throws that in. She's like, it's my voice. I don't find it soothing, but be mine. So it's something that's also an option. But it will not be my voice, so no worries. So what else? What do other folks have for Halloween?
I go to the gym.
Nice. I stress out about not going to the gym if I am.
I go running.
Cool. How far do you run?
About 3 miles or so. Just down the river.
Cool. And are you familiar with the running map that they have for the loop around Esplanade?
No, but I don't know about that, but I live through the bridges here. So through BU and to the Harbor Bridge and what's that other bridge?
Longfellow.
Yeah.
Cool. They're really nice runs, and the running map just shows you the distance if you're ever curious. And the reason why I asked that is my favorite are the ones that I'm like, how far do you run? Like 10 miles? I'm like, no. Like, I'll do 3 miles, and like, we could run. I don't do that. But I appreciate those that do. I'm not training for a marathon anytime soon, so look at that. Cool. All right, other folks.
I climb everything. Is
There
there
are
a
lines. All right. Do you do parkour?
Yeah. I find that it's really, really hard to think about anything if you're trying not to fall off.
I think that's a good, yeah. I would say that would pretty much solve it when you're trying to make sure you don't hurt yourself. Cool. Where do you climb?
MIT's got a bouldering wall, it's really great.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's over in Walker. It's volunteer run just by students,
Huh.
but hours are posted online and I push people to go there because it's awesome.
Wow.
And then there's climbing gyms around here which are great. Really cool walls, they're just like an hour out from Boston.
Huh. That's awesome.
And it's run by students, these schedules, and
People get
makes
over
no
here, I
sense.
swear.
No, but they're being safe. But no, that's cool. I didn't realize we had that. What other folks?
Go on bike rides.
And how far do you bike?
However far you can get away from my problems.
So you go to the Cape a lot?
No, I usually just bike through my house.
Nice. Yeah, the cyclists are the other way. It's like 40 miles. What? Be walking like I was riding a horse. Just waddling. That's cool. Other folks? What are other things?
I just like building, I've got a pair here.
Mhm.
On the stressful side, it's building robots that are smart.
Uh-huh.
On the de-stressful side, it's building robots that are stupid.
I like
Building
it.
stupid robots is pretty fun.
Totally. How many of you, well, I shouldn't mean to ask how many of you, but one. Like, actually, I'm gonna go. Why did you all choose to come to graduate school? Like, what made you decide you wanted to go to graduate school?
Wanted to keep doing that. It seemed like the best place to do it.
Cool. Yeah.
one of my stresses is future planning, and then subdivided into job hunting and niche finding. And so I guess the last one is why.
Okay. Figure out your niche. Cool. Like that? Pretty cool. It might be the same.
I feel like I needed a career that would let me think about things I was interested in. Otherwise, I would really not be good at the career.
Cool. Because a lot of students will lose sight of why they came in the first place. And at a certain point too, sometimes the students go through their time here. You'll hit that midway point, especially in the dissertation where you're kind of just working on your own and you're not start to lose the fun in what they were doing. So they might no longer find that, or they might, be trying to work on the robots and they're so focused on trying to get it to do something that they've lost sight of like what was the fun aspect of the robot building. And so I think it's always important to kind of remember those fun pieces. And sometimes just have fun with it. Like if that's tutoring somebody like an undergraduate or whatever, who might be struggling in math, whether that's building robots to do silly things as opposed to necessarily actually impactful things. The other part that's interesting too is sometimes when you're at play, you actually will think of something that resolves the problem. So you might build a stupid robot, but at the same time, it could actually inform the robot building the intelligent one. So there's always these moments, these kind of eureka moments that happen a lot of times, and most often they happen when you're one, least expecting it, and two, when you're not thinking about what you're actually believe you need to be thinking about. So it's something to consider. So what I'd like for you to do is think of the column on the left with all the stressors as arrows out. So they're things that take energy away from you. They're things that take things out. They stress you out. They just take things away. And I want you to think of the column on the right as arrows in. So this idea of they're things that give back to you, that are energy inducing, as opposed to taking the energy away. And I'd like for you to look at those two lists and see if they're balanced. Do you have, and it might be quantitative, it also could be qualitative. So some of the stuff, like for example, the run, maybe that's a high quality, like a big arrow in, even though it's only like one item. So it can be a little bit of both. We want you to look at that and just think to yourself if you're balanced. Because the more arrows you have going out, the less ability you have for reserves in terms of a threshold. So the way that this could tie in is that if your calls are coming up, you're studying for them, trying to work on that. Your advisor also, especially if your calls happen all in January, a lot of times you're also at the end of a calendar year, which requires a lot of grant agencies or outside corporations will expect a report for the grant that they've been giving you. And so you have a report to do, you're trying to do the qualifying exam, and then you come back to City Pacific and you have some sort of roommate conflict or something on the floor. That's a whole lot of arrows out. And so you really need to kind of be mindful about, do you have the bandwidth right now to handle what's on your floor, or do you need to tap into some of your other hall counselors and ask if they can assist, or do you need to instead ask the person coming to talk to you, I can't handle this right now. I don't have a lot of time right now, but can you just give me 15 minutes? Like, what do you need to kind of to be in a space where you are able to actually assist the individual coming to talk to you? And the arrow analogy is something that I saw Zan do, and it was just really helpful to me to think about how many arrows in do I have versus arrows out. And so it's something that you can do as well as you work with kind of all that you have to do on your plate. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be balanced in terms of number, but think about the time you devote to it and create time for yourself. What are some of the things that you all are most concerned about as you enter your fall counselor role?
I think for me, like, I really dig on the idea that like I wanted to be very, it's a kind of like a social hall, like not for people to just be shut in. And sort of figuring out how to get this community started is one of these big challenges. I think that's probably the thing that's biggest on my mind for coming to home.
Were any of you RAs as undergrads? Cool. So what do you feel as if you were successful in creating kind of a community on the floor?
At times.
And what did you do to do that?
Free food. Hold people's interest and try to tailor those for them.
Did you like it? I mean, I assume so since you're doing it again, but I just figured I'd check.
I'll just clarify, I was a home council last year, but not everyone is home council. There's only 4.
Oh.
For us, yeah.
Gotcha.
My sense is that enjoy this, like, trying to be a bit more open. Like, I know I've been in your house and I've seen some of the halls and things like that, and they all know each other. And I used to live with an RA. I did my undergrad in Stony Brook, and everybody always had their doors open, would just walk in. But I've never really felt like that here, so I don't know.
And there's always gonna be those that don't wanna be a part of the community on the floor,
Right, of course.
but, challenge by choice. But at the same time, it's important that they know kind of who you are, so it's always good to introduce. The other piece though too is never underestimate, as you already mentioned, the power of an open door. So if you really want your community on your floor or hall to be open and social, etc., you can kind of set times for when you're in your apartment that you might leave your apartment door open, which is a little bit more inviting. And so by you doing that on kind of a consistent basis, you may start to notice that others may start to do it as well. But also come talk to you, etc. And so it can create more of an open environment for people to come and talk. I did it with my roommate, and yes, this was only 2 years ago, so we're talking about adults. But she would come home and go directly to her room, and I was just like, really? I would like to know that you know I'm around. Because, and one of my friends actually stated when I was searching for a new roommate, she's like, I'd really like somebody that would call me if you went missing. I was like, awesome, I appreciate it, sentiment. So that gives you an idea of how connected my roommate was for a while. But I started to leave my bedroom door open, and I would try to greet her as she came in and whatnot, and then she also started to leave her door open. I didn't ask, I just did it, and it started, and so it's just an example, a small example. Again, just by doing certain things, and behaving in certain ways, people will start to roll out the behavior you're doing. And so in that way, if you're open, other people will also be open. And so it's something to keep in mind as we look to create that community. In addition to bringing cookies and brownies and saying hello, that can help as well. What are other kind of concerns about this? Just ready to go, like whatever, bring it.
There's always the concern of getting a roommate conflicts.
I have a lot of internal fear of problems that are like right next to you, insurmountable. Okay, the only problem I dealt with so far was a noisy fight between neighboring, like, people who were vertically neighboring. And neither of them, I don't think either of them was capable of working with the other person. But the only solution I could get was basically, you guys are moving out in a month. Cool. But that's the best I can do for you guys.
And in those cases, don't.
And there are problems that are of course.
Yeah.
Something to deal with.
And there are some people that are just, it's dumb. Like, it's not really going to improve. They're at a stalemate. But sometimes those are the moments too where some of the most progress will happen. In terms of, okay, so essentially you're telling me we're at a stalemate. Like, there's nothing that can be done. Like, you all are just going to do this. How do you feel about that? It forces their hand to a certain extent. And Libby will talk more about that in terms of just conflict management in general. When it comes to noise, it can also be tricky because of just, okay, well, what level is it at? And my favorite are the ones that have the decibel meter. Somebody didn't really encounter until here. But I have this app. Oh, awesome. But it's working on kind of what that level is, because the other piece to consider too is that what may be loud for me isn't going to be loud for you. And so we need to figure out what is loud and determining what that is and see if we can get to a workable space. But I think it's also awesome that you were kind of like, all right, well, you got a month. Let's just go with it, and then you've got to experience that. I think that's the hardest part. Is accepting the fact that sometimes we can only do so much. But the rooming conflicts are tricky, but Libby will help with a lot of it. There's also other people you can talk to in terms of this is what I have as a conflict, this is what I've done so far, am I missing something? It's always helpful to get an outside perspective, because sometimes we get wrapped up into it, or even harder is when we side with one of the parties. Like, in the rooming conflict, oh my god, that person's horrible, I hate to be their roomie. He really would work as the neutral. Other thoughts?
More like, as someone who has a hall counselor and someone who is a hall counselor, my last roommate's name was Anon, and I saw him, I think, 12 times all year, like ever.
Wow.
And he moved out. So I felt partly for that reason a little disconnected from my floor last year. So I'm not really sure what to do better next time, but I want to try to, I don't want to repeat it that.
Did you ever ask if he'd like to grab coffee or something like that?
I never, whenever I would like try to get into a conversation with him, he'd usually be like on his way out, or like for a while I tried leaving my bedroom door open, and he just like was like, well, I guess I won't go to the fridge anymore. He just goes straight to his room. He's dedicated.
He was on a mission. Sometimes that's inviting them. Sometimes the other thing is putting stuff on the table. Like just kind of offering, like, I'd really like to get to know you more. Or like, is my leaving the door open really hindering you from getting food? Like kind of just putting out in the open what a concern might be, or a desire or something in your opinion of somebody. And sometimes that's helpful, setting aside time where you all can talk, especially because, you know, sometimes the schedules don't match. We also, much to my chagrin, have a number of people that sleep in labs. So they may not even come home a lot of times. Again, I don't support that, but I know it happens. So I think, you know, there's email, there's so many ways to kind of get in touch with people as well. So feel free to email, call if you have a number. And I usually find when working with people in general, my preference is to talk to somebody in person. If I can't do that, is to talk to them on the phone. And then lastly is to talk to them in writing. Just because so much is lost in writing. And so when you're looking to build community, connect with people, really try to get face to face. If you can't, then that's fine. If it's like leaving a post-it on that door of the person where every time you knock, there's no answer in the apartment. Just like leave a post-it or something on their door that's kind of like, hey, I'd like to just see your face. I mean, you know, stop by, or you could just email me and love to like grab a coffee sometime or anything like that. So if we wanted to kind of get to know people, that's a way that you can also do it, like in essence, giving them some sort of action. Like, we stop by, have something for you, or whatever it may be. So whether it's pick up the mug or glass, that she mentioned, you know, they can help in that sense too. If there's some sort of task that needs to get done. It's like every year, or not every year, almost every year, Cambridge does a census, and so there was a woman that used to email all of the census, and she was always so excited. She had her spreadsheets, and I was just like, I don't get it. But the cool part was, like, she had to hear from everybody, and so it was her, but like, there were other people where they would actually use the census as a way of getting to know people. So, you know, think to yourself, is there something going on in the hall that you would like to talk to somebody? If you send out a survey to ask what people want to do, and you haven't heard from a particular person, go ahead and like knock on the door and be like, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about kind of what you'd like to see from the floor if you want to be involved. If you don't, just let me know. So, yeah, we can go with kind of an action on them. Well, I'll pass around my card. If things come up for you, both in terms of in the hall counselor role or just for you in terms of your own graduate student experience, and you're like, I don't know if there's a resource for it, I don't know where to go for something, or I'd like to talk through just how to move forward, you can feel free to contact me and we can chat about it. The other thing to keep in mind too, just in general, is that there's two initiatives we have, or well, there's one initiative that we as an OBG have, and then there's another resource that's available for